Hey there, gorgeous souls. Welcome back for today's message. Today's one is going to, as per usual, be something going on massively in my own life right now. And I will just start by saying I have had a really emotional last couple of days that was actually triggered by something that actually happened to me in my own personal life. So I'm going to talk to you guys about something that was really quite terrifying for me in my world, and I would love to hear from you guys as you are tuning in. Please do say hi, let me know where in the world you're tuning in from, and drop me some comments, and I can't wait to share this one with you guys. This one is going to particularly highlight the different fear responses that we have, and also particularly highlight, I think, the differences in how we feel and experience fear, and how cautious we may be between men and women. A little bit of the differences on this one as well, which I think is really empowering for us to understand how we're wired a little bit differently. And we focus on different things. And so it's going to help you in your relationships with the opposite sex. It's going to help you in your relationship with yourself. And my hope is I'm going to share a perspective with you guys that I have found to be highly transformational in my own life. And particularly, just got this deep clarity that I want to share with you guys, talking all things fear and intuition and how we tell the two apart, and all of that great stuff. And so that's what we're going to be talking about. So what I'd love for you to have in your mind, just as you're tuning in, I can see I've got Samuel and Bill in the house. Good to see you guys. Hello to you. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks for being available for today's message and co-creating this space. But basically, I'd love for you to think about how you handle fear in your everyday life. Okay, so I want you to have that kind of on top of mind, and particularly if you're someone who maybe you start a lot of things, but you oftentimes don't follow through, maybe fears, insecurities, lack of energy, projection of the worst case scenario, maybe all of those sort of things might come into play and stop you in your tracks. Or, maybe you get excited about things and then stop, or maybe you set goals for yourself, but you're not really feeling that sense of progress towards them. I want to talk to you guys about making this shift in just our understanding of the differences between fear and intuition, which, like I said, has been revolutionary in my own life, and I can't wait to share more of it with you guys. So just doing a couple of last little quick shares. If you feel called to share this message, please do share it as well. And if you do find it of value, and as usual, I want to co-create this space with you. So let's get into it. So today's topic is the wisdom of your intuition versus the fantasy of your fear. All right, so I'm going to talk to you guys about how I look at the system of our innate inner or subconscious intelligence. I want to talk about it in the 3 parts that I'm going to share with you guys today. And hopefully it gives you as much empowerment as it has with me. And I want to definitely share with you guys the fearful, terrifying thing that happened to me in my life just a couple of days ago that really forced me to take a deeper look at my own fear and my own intuition. And I hope that you can apply it to your life, right? All of these messages are to empower you through shifting gears in your perspective on reality, on your awareness of yourself, so that you can make better decisions and choices in your own life. So I want to start with asking you whether you allow your projections of the worst case scenario to kind of negate your awareness of reality and maybe stop you down paths that you thought you're really inspired by and the results that you want to generate and go for, but you tend to fall off track and tend to project worst case scenarios. Also, I want to ask you, how easily does your inner fear of something throw you off track from living the life that you want? All right, I really want you to think about these questions. And basically I want to share with you the fact that how you handle fear in your everyday life, it will actually determine the quality of your life, right? And so I want us to have this initial perspective of just looking at fear it's actually here to serve us so long as we don't let it stop us, okay? So with all those things bared in mind, and knowing that I want to articulate everything I'm sharing with you and give you the example in my own personal life and use my own story and real life examples of what's happened to me over the last couple of days to really fully be able to understand these concepts so that you can apply them to your own circumstances of your own life, I want to first start with the system. Now, what I want to talk about with this is basically the system of our inner intelligence. So I want to look at it in three parts. Now, I want to look at separating what our intuition is versus what our fear is, okay? So basically, I want to look at our intuition as our subconscious intelligence. Now, why I want to call it our subconscious intelligence is because when you get an intuitive hit on something that happens bang in the moment, basically it's really what it is that only 5% of your mind is able to bring in conscious awareness, right? So 5% of your mind is here and now, it's taking in everything that's going on. And when we get an intuitive hit, it's basically an awakening of that inner intelligence that we're not consciously thinking about. We're just getting this feedback, right? Our instinctive or intuitive feedback from our environment, bringing something into our conscious awareness, right? That wasn't previously there. And so that's how I want us to define our intuition with what we're talking about and see if it fits for you. I'd love to hear from you. So if our intuition is our subconscious intelligence, what I want you to think about is fear is actually hyper-focusing on the potential of pain and disregarding the potential of pleasure. Now, what does that mean? So say we're having, okay, I'm just going to tell you my story right now because it's just going to make it easier to talk about, right? So those of you who've been following my messages for a little while now, you know that just about a week ago, almost a week, it'll be a week tomorrow, I actually decided I'm currently going through reading a book called The Comfort Crisis. And I decided in conjunction with some of my health goals that I'm going through in my life right now and really wanting to challenge myself physically, and also the fact that I'm in the fourth lockdown in Melbourne. We're currently in lockdown, and one of the only reasons we're allowed to leave the house is to do some exercise, all right? Like to go out and walk or run. And so I decided, you know what, I'm going to incorporate some morning walks. I'm going to get my steps up. I'm going to look after my health. I'm going to, battle this, like instead of being all cozy in the heater while it's coming into colder months here in Melbourne, and it's getting a bit gloomy, I'm going to push myself to get out and I'm going to do something good for myself. And I'm listening to my book, The Comfort Crisis, while I'm doing this, which is very inspiring, right? Anyway, I've been thoroughly enjoying that. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday happened, and I was really close to home. And basically one of the things that had previously prevented me from going on walks by myself, like I haven't really been inclined to do that, was I just felt like it wasn't fully safe, right? Like, and just being, a woman by myself, walking through parks or something. There's been, we all know different situations that have occurred that have been less than what we'd want to experience, right? And basically it kind of prevented me from ever going on walks by myself. And, I'd always be with somebody if I did do that. But right now I'm living by myself, right? And I'm in lockdown and I don't want to be limited by fear, right? So I decided I'm going to find a way and I'm just going to walk in places that I feel safer in, right? And basically I've been doing that and, really, really, really enjoying that over those last few days. And then as I was coming home on Thursday, I had this situation occur where I was walking in what I felt to be a safer place, like it was kind of a mainish sort of street in the suburb that I live in. And basically coming down this hill, and this big white van started kind of pacing next to me. All right. And it kind of, I'm listening to my book, so I'm kind of in the zone. I'm, they tell you shouldn't probably do that, right? But I'm kind of in my own zone listening to this book, and I'm nearly at home, and I'm feeling really good after this walk, and I'm just, powering through. And then I got this intuitive hit, like, this feels really awkward and weird, right? Like, why is this van doing this thing, right? Why is it slowing down, like, to my pace here? And then it would kind of speed up and be a bit in front of me, and then it'd stop, and then it'd kind of pace with me. And like, this went on for a few hundred meters, right? And I got this intuitive hit, and I was basically like, oh, okay. And I just took out my phone out of my pocket, and I kind of held it in my hand, like, kind of like I'm ready to, like, do the one thing I know about self-development, which I was taught at a course that I went to by somebody who has a business on self-defense. And they basically told me, to have your phone in your hand, right? And to be out and go for their collarbone, right? Like, because you can break their collarbone if you put a lot of force like that, right? And so I'm thinking, okay, I've got to do this one power move that I know. So I've got my phone in my hand. And basically I was really just hyper focused on this situation, and I started trying to walk with more powerfully and aggressively, right? And then and what went through my mind was, it would only take a few seconds for whoever's in this vehicle to pull over right next to me, race around, chuck me in the side of their van, right? And I could scream, but like, there's nobody, I'm not seeing anybody right now, and it could only take a matter of seconds, and then who knows what happens, right? And I actually got quite afraid of it. And I'm somebody who is always so focused on the positive that I'm oftentimes blind to what I should be, right? Should be aware of. And so I was really kind of scared and trying to figure out what I'm going to do. And this went on for a few hundred meters. And then kind of, I think my saving grace was I turned a corner and the bus came, and it looked like I was about to board this bus, right? And I basically, I was really close to home, and I kind of lost sight of where that person was, and I was okay. And, and I got home, and I just kind of put it out of my mind, sort of thing, right? I thought, and basically, I didn't realize that I was pretty shaken up about it. And I kind of just sugarcoated it, and I just kind of thought, how do I know that was what was going to happen? Maybe that person was a painter who'd been hired to go to this house I'd never been to, and they're just looking for an address. They're just, having trouble finding the address. That's why he was kept slowing down and doing that, right? And so maybe that was the case, right? Could have totally been the case. But what it alerted me to with that intuitive hit was actually I felt really scared, because what happened was, after I contemplated it, I basically thought, you know what, like, that something bad could have happened, and I didn't even have the forethought to take a photo of this car, to put my video camera on, to call somebody, to send a photo of the number plate to somebody. All these things I could have potentially done, or have set myself up to be more prepared if something like that was to happen, right? In terms of, I don't know, we're not allowed any sort of weapons or pepper spray or anything here in Australia, but maybe even doing a self-defense course that I've always wanted to do and never done, right? And it got me really fearful. And what I did was I transformed that intuitive hit, right? An intuitive hit, which is the wisdom of your subconscious going, hey, something's happening right now that you need to be aware of. So we're bringing like our subconscious intelligence picking up on these things. We're giving you the feedback as you need it to make a choice and a decision as to what you need to do right now. And instead, what happened was, I actually took that intuitive hit and I let fear take over. And it actually took over for the last couple of days. And it stopped me from going out on my walks that I've been really enjoying. And I actually got a lot of terror kind of come up for me. And I was feeling really emotional about it, right? And basically what had happened was, it's the meanings that we create that we connect to these experiences, right? So when we have an intuitive hit, we can either go, oh, all right, a bit of feedback, a bit of higher awareness right now. How can I utilize this wisdom to redirect what I'm doing right now? Like, what do I need to do right now to continue down the path of what I want. And what happens for a lot of us is when we get that intuitive hit, and I'm going to talk about why this happens, but when we get that intuitive hit, basically we connect fear. We're worst case scenario, right? And then what happens is we hyper focus on the worst possible scenario. We miss the possibilities available to us. And then what happens as a result is we engage in one of those fear mechanisms, right? Or fear responses. We fight, right? We're ready to fight. We're ready to fly, right? And flight and take off and run off. We freeze, right? Because we're overwhelmed by the emotions of and fear in that moment. Or we fawn, right? And we oftentimes, if those of us who are people pleasers, we tend to engage in trying to save ourselves through, through being a people pleaser, basically. And basically some of those strategies are great for, for our survival, but I'm talking about, like, I wasn't actually in physical danger in that moment. It was just, this is a possibility of what could happen. What do I want to do about it? And what instead I could do, instead of connecting to all the fear, hyper focusing on worst case scenario, getting caught up in that cycle, we're all creating it in our mind. All it did was stop me from actually finding a new way and a new strategy and being more informed and making some better decisions as to how I want to still engage in going out and being able to go for a walk, but more intelligently, right? That's the difference between looking at that intuitive hit that we get as another form of wisdom that we've just been granted access to the awareness of, so that we can redirect what we're doing in the moment to continue to get the results that we're after, versus the fear response, which is naming and shaming that intuitive response as a fear, right? Which connects us to just only seeing worst case scenarios, which floods the body and the system with all the biology of fear that makes us fight, flight, freeze, fawn, and takes us away from, it actually takes us off the path that we want to be on. And then what we do is we end up, because we're so black and white about it, so good or bad, and we're just hyper focused on the bad, the same thing happens with our moving towards and progressing towards the things that we want in our lives. We go, I got fearful, so I can't have that thing. So we stop taking any action toward it. Now I'm talking about, me going for a walk, but this happens with all of the goals that we set for ourselves. That's why I asked you guys earlier at the beginning of this message, are you somebody who starts a lot of things, but you never follow through? And oftentimes that's because the fear response, the intuitive response actually comes up that goes, you know what, that's probably not going to work in that way, but this could work. And it's actually enlightening you. It's giving you more terrain, more view of the terrain available to you, so that you can make a better decision because you've got more information available to you, versus getting the intuitive hit and negating that and calling it fear, like there's something wrong here, I can't go down this path, and that's why we don't follow through and we don't get the results that we want in our lives. Now, I want to talk to you about two major reasons why we mistake that intuitive hit for a fear response, right? Which is hyper-focused on the worst case scenario. Number one, most of us have grown up in environments where our intuition we were taught to pretty much disregard it and distrust it, right? We got a feeling about somebody that, we didn't like that uncle, or we didn't like that person, and we might have voiced it. We said, to mum or dad, like, I don't really like that, or I don't want to do that, right? And they're like, no, the right thing to do, go hug your whoever, and we get messages time and time again with all of these little daily tasks that negate that internal connection, right? Our connection and our awareness of our intuition, right? Our inner wisdom, our inner tuition, our inner teacher, right? And we just distrust that over and over and over again. And so we equate that intuitive hit to a fear response, that something can't be trusted. And oftentimes I can't be trusted, and so that's what puts us on this path of, having major problems with negating that internal wisdom. And basically what happens is over time, as we get those messages that we shouldn't trust what we feel and those intuitive hits, we end up building these very strong neural pathways to whenever we get that intuitive hit, it goes straight to fear and our fear response, taking us off path and basically ruining the results that we're after and disregarding the wisdom that's available to us to make more informed decisions from that point of the intuitive awareness, right? And so basically I also want to tap into the fact that every single one of us has had traumatic experiences that we have collected over the years. All right. And majority of us, I would say, have not resolved those traumatic experiences in a conscious way. And so what happens is, and this is again my personal experience, I actually felt terrified, right? After this happened and I brought some awareness to it, I actually fell into quite a lot of terror, and I was like, a cat walked past an outside light and the lights went on and I was like terrified, right? And I realized I was having an overreaction to the story or the fantasy of fear that was going on in my mind. And it was very much connected to some residue of some past traumatic experiences. You guys who've been following me for over a year now would know, because I spoke about somebody in my life actually threatening my life, right? And basically, I some of the residue of that traumatic experience was reactive to the situation that happened to me a couple of days ago, right? And so our intuition and our fear response, if you really look at how much we go to that fear response and maybe an overreaction to a fearful fantasy, what that's really alerting to us to is the residue of unprocessed or unhealed traumatic experiences from our past that's really empowering to be aware of, because we can do something about it. This is a major part of the work that I do with every single one of my one-on-one coaching clients, is we go through the whole timeline of their history and we identify all of those traumatic experiences for you subjectively. We look at those, and I have processes that I take people through personally where we actually go back and we resolve the trauma, right? And we glean the wisdom and we reintegrate those parts of you that are reactive and the residue that prevent you from getting the goals that you want in your life. And we reintegrate those so that you can be a really empowered, present individual who can be connected to those intuitive hits and use them to your advantage, rather than fall into the trap of fear that stops us from doing anything productive, right? And so I hope that what I'm sharing with you guys does resonate. I'd love to hear from you. If you've got any questions or comments or words of wisdom or stories that you want to share on this topic, I really want to hear from you. I really want to engage with you guys in the comments today. But one thing that I wanted to just give you a little something to do, right, in order to build the muscle of that connection to your intuition without just going down those neural pathways that most of us have been building all throughout our lives, to when we get that intuitive hit, we just go boom on the train of the tracks to fear, not to be trusted, something needs to stop, right? Instead of having that awareness of, oh yes, like some new information that was in my unconscious has just been brought to my attention so that I can make more wise and informed decisions from this pathway forward, right? In order to build that muscle and to start to regain your trust in your own intuition, basically, I want you to think about it this way. I want you to, because if you think about what we just spoke about, right? Like fear being the projection of the worst case scenario, hyper focusing on the worst case scenario available in that situation, right? That floods our system, takes us offline. What we want to do is we want to expand your reach. We don't, it's not wise, right, to just always be positive and just negate any worst case scenario, right? That's not wisdom, right? That's stupidity. That's naivety, right? But what we do want to do is we want to see the whole terrain so that it can inform and refine our decisions forward. And so what we want to do Next time you're hit with, and you might feel it as the intuitive hit, or it might just be a hit of fear, right? Because remember, the more we've gone to a process of distrusting our intuition, we've built the neural pathways to take us directly and very quickly to a fear response. I want you to remember, fear is the hyper focus on the worst case scenario. So sounds like if that's a place you go to often, you are a triple plus, right? In the realm of being able to identify the worst possible case scenario. But what we want to do is we want to balance out your perception, right? So what we want to do in that environment is we want to give your intuition, that guide, more access to your perspective. We want to make the connection stronger. And so what happened next time you get that intuitive hit or that fear response, I want you to go, okay, what's the worst case scenario, the fear fantasy that's going on in my mind? And it might have a lot of truth, right? That worst case scenario. What is it? What's the worst case scenario? That's the first question I want you to ask yourself. Now we're trying to build and expand the neural pathways in your brain to not only just go straight for worst case scenario, but now we want to open up the mind and we want to also identify what is the best case scenario? What's the best possible thing that could happen in this situation? And this is going to be much more challenging for the majority of us to develop. What's the best case scenario that could happen in this moment? And then we've got those two perspectives going on. Now it's about asking that intuition, getting that intuitive hit, right? Getting that internal wisdom engaged and going, what's the most likely in this situation? Now, given this is going to be a process that is going to take time to develop so that you can have a quality in your system that has been very focused on the negative or the worst case scenario or the fear response, and we're broadening the response, and it's going to take some time to build that muscle and those neural pathways, but practice is key. And so this is just a simple way that you can, help strengthen the connection and the intelligence, the access to intuitive intelligence, not just cognitive intelligence, or not just what your fear wants to tell you to do in any given scenario. Okay, what's the worst case scenario? Okay, what's the best possible case scenario? And what's most likely? And how am I going to inform my decisions from this, right? How can I be wiser because of this intuitive hit rather than succumb to a fear response that takes me offline, stops me in my tracks, and prevents me from progressing towards the results that I'm actually after, all right? So that is my message for you guys. I really hope that it has empowered you with a new perspective on fear and intuition and how to discern between the two and speak properly, if that helps as well. And I really, really hope that this has resonated with you and just gets you thinking, don't let your fears stop you. Remember, your fears are here to help you so long as you don't let them stop you. All right. Remember that fear response is just the hyper focus on the worst case scenario. Listen to that intuitive hit. See that there's always a balance of both sides. Feed your mind with both possibilities. Deepen that connection with that sense of trust and alignment as to, what's the best way forward from here. All right. So that's what I'd love to hear from you. And Judy has just sent me 50 stars. Thank you so, so much. I forgot about the stars. I love the stars. If any of you guys want to contribute to these messages and make Facebook know that you value these messages so that you get to see them more, it's such a great gift that you can give to me. So thank you for the stars. So appreciated. All right. Let me check in with you guys. See who's been able to join me. I have got Samuel in the house and Bill, hello to you. And Sophia's here. Good morning, 1 a.m. in the UK. Well, I'm very grateful to have you watching at such a late time. Good to see you as always, Sophia. And Data's here as well. Awesome. Another one of my star senders. So appreciated. And Elma's here. And Jerry. Day off, hockey, and you're live. Oh, I love it. Good to have you back, my friend. Always love seeing you. And Javier, Vanessa, you outdid yourself. Oh, thank you for those kind words, my friend. You are so appreciated. Always love having you join live. Thanks for being here. And Josie's here as well. And Bill, happy you're safe. You sensed a shift in energy and reacted. Now you know what it feels like. When you fear something, ask yourself what's the worst possible outcome. Once you accept and realize the worst outcome is not very likely, it's easier to move forward. Absolutely wisely put, my friend, and thank you for your consideration. I really appreciate your care. It was terrifying, but I will do a message for you guys coming up as well, because there was a lot more that I learned about my own awareness and how I handle challenges, more so than what I've shared with you guys today, but it's a whole nother topic, but very empowering, so I can't wait to share more of that with you as well. And so love it. Thank you so much, Bill. I appreciate you. And Jerry, fear will keep us in our comfort zone where everything is blocked from progressing. Look outside of our comfort zone is where we discover ourselves. Absolutely, my friend. So appreciate that share. And Jose, good to see you. Hello, Vanessa. I'm really sorry that you went through that situation. Please stay safe. Thank you, my friend. I can tell in your eyes the emotional stage is still in you. Yeah, I've had a very emotional last couple of days. Sometimes it's so difficult to overcome fear, but like you were saying, in those scenarios, we learn to act more intelligently. It's so awesome that you're sharing your life experiences to encourage us how to learn from them. Hugs. My only fear now is become that person that I never want to be, I think. I love that, Jose. Thank you so much for such kind words and reflections. You are so appreciated. I love our beautiful community. You are such beautiful and caring souls who I deeply appreciate. And I'm always grateful to know if me sharing, my personal stories and how I'm navigating life supports you. That's such a gift to know. I love it. So awesome. And remember, like that fear, don't let fear disable us. Remind ourselves we're getting an intuitive hit. We're becoming more aware, right? So what can we do with that awareness, right? That's where the power is. So I love that. Thank you so much, Jose. Appreciate you. And Samuel, gut instinct is a good thing. Glad you're okay. Carry a walking stick whilst out and about, a handy walking aid. I love it, Samuel. Maybe that's what I need, right? Something to, ward people off. But I have been trying to figure some different things out. And, the difference is what allows us to get out of the fear and into the wisdom is, taking that step back, realizing and taking the fear or the emotion out of it for a moment and looking at it more logically. This is a situation. And researching, what do people do, right? How do people handle these situations? How to be more informed, right? And then, for me, what had stopped me from walking over the last couple of days has been I haven't had any change, right? I don't have any different thing occurring, it felt like, right? Now I feel like I'm more aware. I know how I would handle that situation better next time, and I will be doing some self-defense classes as soon as I'm out of lockdown and I'm actually able to interact with people again. That'd be nice. So all of those things. So that's a great little example and suggestion there, Samuel. Appreciate you. And Data, have you explored the possibility of the experience of the fear of the moment also being a transgenerational memory trigger that enables the rapid execution of actions in the alignment with self-preservation? I actually have. And, this has been an interesting one because what I've noticed, and we're going to go a little bit woo-woo here, but what I've personally noticed for myself is I feel a lot more sensitive or more aware of my sensitivity in more of a like a global way, I guess. I don't know how you're gonna take this however you might, right? But I feel more connected to humanity, and I feel more connected to the pains of the collective, right? And I think we all have access to, and we're all sensitive to this, but it's whether we block ourselves or numb ourselves from it or not. And that's my personal perspective from my own personal experience. But I have heard a lot about, particularly minority groups and say, for instance, women, right? I've been doing a lot of research around domestic violence and abusive relationship dynamics, and and looking at how women are impacted and what's been going on for them versus what's going on for men. And I do feel like we do have this collective generational, traumatic experiences of the collective that we are connected to, right? And we, like, whether we're conscious of it or not, right, our internal, like our intuition or our subconscious has this huge sensitivity and awareness to kind of like what's really going on in a way that our conscious mind doesn't always have connection to. And so I do feel like there is a lot of response to the unresolved traumas of the collective across the generations. Did I just say somebody gave me like a ton of stars? Like, I just need to quickly say hello to Bill. Oh my gosh, that was so much fun. That was amazing. What a gift you are. Thank you so much for that gift. Gosh, you took me off my path then. I'm so appreciative to you guys who are supporting these messages. So thank you so much, Bill. I really appreciate that. Data, amazing freaking question. I feel like we could have like a really deep dive, very woo-woo conversation on this one that I'd love to have. But I hope that did answer some of it, and just shared a little bit of a perspective, but I'd love to go deeper and learn a ton more about it. So appreciate you being here and contributing to the conversation. I love it when you guys ask these questions and contribute your thoughts as well. Makes it so exciting for me. I love engaging with you guys, and probably heightened because of the fact I'm in lockdown by myself, right? So I love it. And Bill, I have complete confidence that I can solve any problem, so I fear nothing. I'm always in the right place at the right time. Boom. Like, this is what we're talking about. I love that so much, Bill, right? Because everything that we are experiencing in every given moment is determined by our perspective, right? If we have an empowering perspective that just has complete confidence, like Bill's sharing right now, that I can solve any problem. I actually learned that from Susan Jeffers, which I feel like her book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, is like such a classic in personal development, right? It's foundational, but the thesis of that book is exactly what Bill just shared, right? That if you trust in your ability to always figure things out, you can handle anything. Like, that is your best tool in your tool belt that you could ever hope to have in order to tackle life in a way that you don't let life stop you, right? And you always will figure it out. You'll always learn. You'll always grow. You'll always handle it, right? And therefore, you'll feel the fear, but do it anyway in a wise and intelligent way, not in a naive, just going to be positive, perpetually positive, kind of way that negates the awareness, right? We're not trying to just be one-sided. We're trying to be fully aware and then wiser to make those decisions. But coupling that with that strong belief in your ability to always figure things out, and coupling that with your actions that you create the experience of and reinforce that belief with, like, that's what it's all about. So Bill, you're a superstar. I love it. And Samuel, great words, balancing gut and different scenarios. Absolutely love that this resonated with you. And Tosha, it's 5:24 p.m. in Arizona. I love having you here. Good to see you. And Ravi's here as well. And Normand and Celine. Oh, gosh, I miss you. Just catching the end of this video, babe. Hope you're okay. My beautiful little Aussie sister. I'll catch up on the replay. Looking forward to seeing you soon. Oh, I miss you so much. Can't wait to see you. And I so appreciate you. I know my big Irish sister would be out there looking after me. I'd feel super safe if we were going for a walk together. I love it. Awesome. Bill, thank you again for those 500 stars. Oh my gosh, that's the most stars I've ever had. And I love it. You're so generous. I appreciate you. And Melkor, good morning from the Philippines, from Manila. Good to have you as usual, my friend. Hope this is a good message for you. And Data, wonderful insights as always. Thank you so, so much. I appreciate you. And I appreciate each and every one of you guys for showing up live with me today, for contributing to the conversation with your thoughts, with your experiences, with your questions. You are so appreciated. And I really hope today's message has served you. If it has, and you know somebody in your life that could benefit from today's message, please do share it. I'd be forever grateful. And thank you again for those of you who are engaging with the stars option on these lives. They really support me in the work that I do, and making sure Facebook doesn't continue to block my messages from a lot of you, and I can basically get into the minds and hearts of more people. So I really appreciate that gift and the co-creation of this space. All right, my last message as usual, just reminding you guys to go out there and live authentically, right? Really honor who you are. Definitely go deep in your relationships, build depth of intimacy and connection. Don't stay stuck on the surface in fear. And definitely, it's really important that you identify your unique gifts, right? And you live a purposeful life. That's how we create meaning in our lives. You are a unique individual, all right, who has something of real value that is unique to you. And the world wants it, right? In whatever way, in whatever capacity that looks like for you, that authentically inspires you. But you've got it, right? And we want it, all right? So if you would ever like help and support in honoring your authenticity, deepening your intimate connections, or discovering, developing, and delivering your unique gifts and creating some real meaning and purpose in your life, these are the aspects of life that I dive into every damn day, and I love supporting people in really reaching their potential in each of those areas. So you can always reach out to me, and I can't wait to serve you at ever increasing levels, and hope to see you guys on the next live coming up soon. And I'd love to hear from any of you guys watching the replay as well, and I'll connect with you soon. All right, so much love, and I'll see you then.